Hello and welcome to the Console Xplosion Weekly Wrap-Up. I'm your host, the Historic Nerd. On this program, we're going to kind of talk about nerd culture and rears, about discussing what happened last week. If you were kind of under a rock or, I don't know, out of the house, unable to catch news updates, this show might be something for you where you can quickly catch up on the major events that defined nerd culture for the last week. So, let's start this out by talking about Samurai Jack, a show that's been off the air for about 10 years. And thankfully, Adult Swim and Cartoon Network announced that they're bringing the show back to the air. So now, full adults, like when they were children, can dress up in bed sheets and pretend they're Japanese kimonos and be samurai again. That's for you, Jared. But also last week, we had the VGA Awards happening, with a number of prime contestants going for Game of the Year, also a number of different categories, along with Trending Gamer, which were pretty interesting. If you watch the TCX podcast on it, we actually discuss a lot of these events. And I'll have to note that Jared, the head person in the Console Xplosion, actually won the major award by collecting most points, which means he'll be getting some type of amazing prize, which he'll be unboxing here in the future. But if you don't know who the main events are, essentially it was Witcher, Fallout 4, Bloodborne, and Mario Maker were some of the major nominees. But the one who took home the prize was surprisingly Witcher 3. Coming from a relatively smaller studio, they were pretty successful for making a really good game. And then our next major event from the last week was the final trailer for Batman vs Superman, with this trailer kind of revealing a lot of the major characters we're going to be seeing in the movie. Along with kind of, I would say, a quintessential exposure of Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. And also a seemingly interesting introduction of Lex Luthor, making him seem kind of like a skeevy tech nerd in a way with a beautiful head of hair. Can't say I'm not jealous of that. But anyway, through his own genetic modifications, they reveal in the trailer that they use Zod's DNA to create something that looks like Doomsday? Or it could be Bizarro Superman, I don't know the context of the film. They're going for something, but it looks a lot like Doomsday. So we'll see where they go with that. But also, if they're going to do what I think they're going to do, and it's going to be like the old Superman story, I guarantee after the experiment's done, Lex Luthor's hair is going to fall out, and he's going to be even more pissed at Superman like he was in the original comic. So moving on from that, you actually have GameStop announcing that even though the new Battlefront game sold a lot of copies, it was actually an underperforming title. That and the new Halo game. So that's kind of a surprising twist for most physical releases of these gigantic shooters, which usually dominate the industry. So that might have interesting context for how GameStop's relationship is going to be with EA and other major title releasers in the future. And then finally, you have Capcom confirming that they're actually doing a Resident Evil 2 remake. Not just a remastering, but a full-fledged from the ground up remake of Capcom's Resident Evil 2. So, I mean, that probably means you're going to have about 20 minutes of gameplay and then the rest will be, pay by the minute DLC. So I'm sure you'll be pretty happy with that. So, in closing of the weekly wrap-up, we have kind of some major events happening with the VGAs. I would say, after watching it, the way they pick newer indie titles, it almost legitimized it more, because typically it's usually almost this gigantic, whatever commercial you see is going to be the one that takes home the awards. And oddly enough, Witcher 3 dominated some of the events. And even some indie games took some of the other events as well, which was a bit of a surprise for them. But that was the end of Weekly Wrap-Up. Thanks for watching. I'm the Historic Nerd. Hope to see you again.